Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to my full Final Fantasy Platinum series. I decided to take on the random and daunting task of earning every PlayStation Platinum trophy in every Final Fantasy game. This is an achievement awarded in most PlayStation games for completing every possible trophy in a game's base launch. Now, this is my third video in the series, and up to this point, we've covered Final Fantasies 1 through 8, which have been mostly smooth. You know, there's a few bumps in the road, but quite frankly, it hasn't really been all that bad yet, and being 8 titles deep, that's pretty good. But that comes to an end right now, because today we come to the behemoth of an undertaking that is Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX is by far one of the most concerning platinums on the list, especially at first glance. The game has a ton of missable content and obscure side quests. It has some absolutely ridiculous grinding-based trophies and a handful that might actually drive you insane, if not for the ethical conundrum I'm going to present you in this video. It's one that I decided had to have its own video. That's how much you really need to pay attention to this one. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Final Fantasy IX Platinum. Before we get started, this video has a sponsor, Magic Spoon. It's a high-protein cereal that helps me shake up my daily eating. It can get boring having the same things day in and day out, and because I'm very protein conscious, I always have to be considering it. But Magic Spoon gives me plenty of solid options, not just because they have a ton of cereals with a ton of different flavors, but they also have treat bars and even granola. They all taste great, they hit my cravings where I need to hit them, and they give me the protein that I want, whether that's as breakfast or as a midday snack. If you'd like to try Magic Spoon while also supporting the channel, then click the link below to try some today. Build your own custom box of products with tons of available flavors to match your daily needs or wants. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mr. Happy to get $5 off your box. You can also buy it at your local grocery store if you'd prefer, or even on Amazon. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you. No questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Mr. Happy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mr. Happy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now back to the video. Okay, so I suppose we should start with the basics. Final Fantasy IX, like many other Final Fantasy games on this list, includes a handful of cheats. It has a speed up function which will boost the game to 4 times speed, which if you ask me is either way too fast or just barely tolerable enough, depending on what you're actually doing. However, when used on the grinding related trophies or for certain minigames, it becomes an actual godsend. You can also turn encounters off, which always comes in handy, and there's a full HP MP trance boost heal type 1. Unfortunately, the full heal style boost in this game is actually a curse in a lot of scenarios. It takes forever for your full party to trance every single time you use it. So you'll only use this at a few specific spots, or if you're in a bind and like me, have beaten the game so many times you really don't care if you have to turn on a healing cheat once in a while to save yourself from a dumb decision. You can also auto battle, which will come in handy quite frequently. With that, there are a few trophies that won't really require much thinking, as is to be expected with a lot of games. Completing the game is a relatively obvious one that I actually didn't have to do in this playthrough that I did recently. I beat this game when the remaster initially released, so I had that already. I didn't bother beating Kuja or Necron this time around, since that trophy was already locked in. Speaking of which, for endgame stuff, of course, reach level 99 on one character is something you shouldn't have any problems with. There's also a trophy to win a single Tetramaster match. Given you'll have to do the Tetramaster tournament later in the game, you'll pick this one up naturally as well, even if you know very little about Tetramaster. But I promise you, you're going to have to know a lot more about Tetramaster eventually. There's one for entering trance 50 times, and that's so easy. Don't even use the cheat for that one, and that's just going to happen as you play through the game. Another one you can pretty easily pick up is the Very Good Omen Color Fortune. When you get to Dalian Disc 1 and go to your in-room, the Color Fortune should be on the left side of the room. Just do it a few times until the trophy pops up. I actually only took one try in my recent playthrough. Another very easy and very funny one is One Nag Too Many, which causes Maguo to throw a tantrum. Maguo is your save Moogle on the world map, who runs at your beck and call to help you when you need him. If you call him and then immediately dismiss him, he gets a little upset. And when you do it over and over again, he gets madder and madder until he loses his mind. Just keep summoning Maguo and dismissing him until the trophy pops. As for trophies you can pretty easily obtain throughout the game, there are just a few of them, unfortunately. Having the nobles demand an encore by performing the minigame during the play shouldn't take much effort at all. This also rewards a moonstone if you talk to Queen Braun as Steiner afterwards, which is required for another trophy anyway. Winning the Festival of the Hunt with Vivi is usually one that you can do pretty easily. It just requires dying to one of the stronger monsters with both Zidane and Freya near the end. A lot of people will make a save before the Festival of the Hunt, win with Vivi for the trophy, and then reset because the rewards you can get by winning as Freya, for example, are far more valuable in a casual playthrough. And that pretty much covers all the trophies that you're somewhat likely to have an easy time getting. At the beginning of Disc 2, you'll also have the ability to save every Clarin from the Alexandrians' assault, and most people playing through the game with a guide will pick this one up quickly enough as well. When presented with options, choose the following. Let's go right the first time you get asked, let's go left the second time you get asked, cross the bridge to the right the third time you get asked, and we're not safe yet for the final option. This should save everyone and net you the Out of Harm's Way trophy. Don't know why I wrote my script this way, where I said that's the ones you're likely to have an easy time getting, but maybe it's because you're just going to make a mistake there. I don't know, I'm just reading my own script. Alright, so with all the easy ones out of the way, where do I even want to begin from? You'll need to be actively participating in several side quests as you progress through the game in order to ensure you can complete a lot of these side quests later on. Some can be missed, some are simply being proactive to avoid needing to do things later, and some are going to require some more nuanced methods. So, right from the start of the game, here's a massive list of things that you need to be doing the entire time, or at the very least, I recommend that you do the entire time. First, a really simple one. Open treasure chests and find every possible item hidden in each map. These, among other activities, increase your treasure hunter rank. Reaching S rank will be required for a trophy near the end of the game. Fortunately, you don't need to be perfect, but if you're following a guide, don't skip any of the treasures it lists anywhere either. Then there's performing active time events. The game will actually give you a tutorial on ATEs early on, and they're basically just cutaway cutscenes to see what other characters are doing. There are 79 of them throughout the game, and you need every single one to obtain the trophy. This is probably the easiest trophy to miss in the entire game. Maybe second easiest given what one of the other ones is, but you just have to handle this one with care. A lot of ATEs, they can be completely missed simply by choosing to explore a town in the incorrect order. Progressing the story will render them undoable as well, so you're going to have to be really careful. This is especially prevalent in areas like the Black Mage Village, but just any guide you look up online, follow it to the T and ensure you don't miss any ATEs. Definitely save often and double check every zone as you go through to see if you missed anything, and if you did, reload and go from there. You don't want to find out at the end of the game that you missed an ATE. Then is actually checking the Mognet, or I guess talking with the Moogles in general. Every time you run into a Moogle throughout the game, they'll often ask you to deliver letters to each other. Staying on top of this throughout the game makes handling the Mognet side quest later on much faster. Repairing the machine at Mognet and obtaining the Super Slick, which are both basically the same quest anyway, are two trophies tied to this activity. Speaking of Moogles, there's also Stiltskin, who will sell you item kits throughout the game. He's the traveling Moogle that you meet early on, and you can buy item kits from him at set points throughout the game. Buying all of them nets you a trophy. This one is also easy to miss if you aren't diligent about buying them as you progress, as some of them are only available for incredibly short periods of time. It's also worth mentioning that if you have too many of an item and purchasing from him would overcap upon buying, he won't sell it to you. Sell some items and kind of just try to avoid staying, just don't have 99 of some of the more simple items like, basic potions or even high potions. Then there's Play Tetramaster. Now, I mentioned that there's going to be a trophy for winning a Tetramaster match, right? Well, that's not the only one there is. You also have to win 10 matches, and then 100 matches. Now, that doesn't sound so bad. You're probably thinking, oh, just challenge some really easy dude and just beat him 100 times. Unfortunately, the trophy doesn't tell you something very important. You need to win against 100 unique opponents. It's not just 100 matches. This is actually not as bad as it sounds. The worst part about it is that you're playing Tetramaster 100 times. But if you start early in the game, I mean, you can be done really early with this trophy, so it's not that bad. And even if you start later, I think I started even in Disc 2, and I still managed to get it done before I actually went through every NPC that I was going to encounter. So, just don't bother counting. Battle through each opponent. Literally check every NPC, see if they can be challenged, and just go, go, go until the time the trophy pops. Then there's catching frogs as Quina. Quina has 2 trophies related to this, catching 99 frogs and catching a singular golden frog. I believe Quina's ultimate weapon is also tied behind this. Kind of forgot to check that before I started recording, but you're going to want to do that all the same. Now, the golden frog is easy. You're going to find one in one of the marshes at some point throughout the game, but it's actually recommended that for the most part, you leave the golden frogs alone, and I'll explain why. For 99 frogs, it's important to understand how frog respawns work in Final Fantasy IX. Every marsh has several frogs when you come to the frog screen, of which the normal frogs have a gender of male or female. You always want to leave one frog of each gender available so that they can actually procreate more frogs when you revisit the swamps later on. Every so often, when convenient, visit these marshes and check out the population, thinning them out until there's just one male and one female left. If there are any golden frogs, leaving them also increases the frog respawn rate. Most guides will make note of when you can revisit marshes easily, so you can keep the cycle going throughout the game. It is worth mentioning, though, that if you're frequently using the speed up function and progressing through the game at a pretty rapid pace, then you'll probably notice that revisits may not have as many frogs as you wish they did. That being said, you're not going to slow down your playthrough for this. At worst, at the end of the game, you have to be a little bit more patient. But honestly, with all of the marshes, all at the end of the game, you'll probably be okay. Next is finding and befriending the friendly enemies. Throughout the game, you may encounter enemies asking for items such as ores, emeralds, diamonds, etc. And they appear in very specific locations that can be tracked through a guide. This is part of a side quest that makes the game's super boss, Ozma, able to be hit by close range attacks, and we will only briefly have to talk about Ozma later. Keep a list of them handy and take care of them as you travel throughout the game. Now, while you're looking for the friendly enemies, you may also want to do Ragtime Mouse's pop quizzes. Ragtime Mouse is an NPC that hides in certain forests at certain points of the game, and when encountered, quizzes you on some random factoid about the game's lore. He has a total of 16 questions and can only be found asking certain questions after you've made a certain amount of progress and pull up a question guide and answer everything correctly for another trophy. He's usually quite rare and frustrating to find if you're just running around where he's actually supposed to spawn, but there's a glitch/exploit that gives you a better chance of finding him. For some reason, if you gently tap a movement key or the analog stick or whatever, when you're in a forest where he can spawn, then Ragtime Mouse becomes the only encounter that you can actually find. If you find anything other than him while doing this method, then you tap too hard and moved a bit too much. It's terribly tedious trying to get him to spawn like this, and it can still take several minutes of you questioning if you're even doing it right in the first place, but you will still overall save time on Ragtime Mouse. The only reason why you may not want to consider doing this is if you're still looking for kills for one of the other trophies I'm going to be talking about later, but trust me, you're going to want to get Ragtime Mouse done for the sake of your sanity. Then there's Chocobo Hot and Cold. This minigame becomes available about halfway into Disc 1 after you leave Lindblum. You'll briefly just have to do a little side quest where you actually find a Chocobo, bring it back to the first Chocobo forest, and then you'll be taught how to actually dig. You'll be given a limited amount of time in order to dig up as many items as you can, although if you actually dig up enough items, then Mog will stop you and be like, yo, you gotta chill or I'm gonna go out of business. This is one of the most important points in the game to use the speed up cheat. At 1x speed, it is absolutely masochistic to do this, and I would never wish it upon my worst enemies. However, with the 4x speed, you might develop carpal tunnel, but you'll at least get the minigame done a whole lot faster. This can be used to buy some really strong rewards early on if you're really looking to get the Robe of Lords or whatever it's called early. But more importantly, it'll just let you get all the chocographs on items as quickly as possible, raise your chocobo's levels. It's just one of those places where the speed up is incredibly useful. Now, as you progress through Chocobo Hot and Cold, you'll discover other dig sites, and your Chocobo will gain extra abilities. It will be able to walk across shallow waters, oceans, over mountains, and even fly. This gives you access to like half of the game's trophy list just exclusively through this activity. So let's go over some of the trophies that are locked behind it. First, there's one for getting your Chocobo's beak to level 99. That's just going to happen from you digging a whole bunch. There's almost no chance that you aren't level 99 by the time you actually finish all the other things I'm going to tell you, so don't worry too much about that one. Now, another thing is that most of the game's ultimate weapons are also hidden in dig sites. A lot of them not necessarily from the chocographs either, so you're going to probably need a guide to make sure you find all of them. Given that every ultimate weapon is its own trophy, yeah, you're probably going to want to do that. There's also a trophy for finding every hidden treasure on the world map using the Chocobo anyway, so these two things kind of just overlap. There's also the Genji items, several of which are obtained through these digging sites as well. So hey, that's another trophy. Not to mention that Ozma, the game's super boss, can only be challenged in the Chocobo Air Garden, which you can only reach by upgrading your Chocobo to be able to fly. And finally, once your Chocobo quest is all done and you've actually fixed the Magnet, you can try to challenge the Fat Chocobo in Chocobo's Paradise to a game of Tetramaster, to which he refuses for some reason and then says, hey, go find every beach on Gaia. Who knows? Go to each beach, and when you see an exclamation mark over your head, press circle. Once you visit all 21 beaches, you'll gain the ability to fully heal at any beach by pressing circle, and that'll basically come with the trophy pop. So yeah, do Chocobo Hot and Cold. Like half the game's trophies are locked here. Another treasure-related thing that's not actually related to Chocobo Hot and Cold directly is to obtain 4 moonstones. Now, each moonstone comes from a specific activity, some of which are missable. The first I already mentioned, it's from impressing 100 nobles and talking to Queen Brana Steiner right afterwards. That one's definitely missable. The second one is on the Conde Petit mountain path. There's like this colored stone minigame you have to do. Most guides are going to make mention of it anyway, and that is also a missable one. If you don't do that at the right time, you don't do it before actually resolving all the Ifa Tree stuff, then that's going to go away for good. The third is actually from the Friendly Enemies quest, obtained specifically from the Jabberwock when given an emerald. So you're going to get that also naturally by doing the Friendly Enemies quest. And the final one is actually from Stiltskin's final shop in Alexandria Steeple during Disc 4, which you should be doing that trophy also. So realistically, the only one here that doesn't have another trophy tied to it is the Conde Petit mountain path. So just make sure you do that, and as long as you're working on the platinum, you're going to get the other 3. Speaking of stones, you're also going to want to locate the Zodiac Stellazzios. There are 13 of these Zodiac stones throughout the game, and you can take them to Treno and exchange them to Queen Stella in order to obtain some pretty rare items. I highly recommend you stay on top of this for 2 separate reasons. First, there's actually 2 achievements locked behind it. One is for giving Queen Stella 10 of these stones, and there's one for obtaining the hammer, which is given once you've actually collected every single one of the Stellazzios. Now, the second reason is something that I'm recommending a little bit ahead of a different trophy we're going to talk about later. Early on, it's possible to obtain a fantastic sword for Steiner called the Blood Sword, if you collected pretty much every stone as you've gone through the game. This can be abused to work on one of the game's most diabolical trophies, and it's just kind of not a bad sword to have anyway. But you must obtain this sword before Steiner returns to Alexandria with Marcus and Garnet, so get it before leaving Treno. On a lighter note, another side quest you'll want to be keeping an eye out for is to find Morid's coffee. Early on in the game, you might remember a hill that Steiner visits near Dali looking for a way back to Alexandria. There's an old man that you talk to there that has a side quest to obtain 3 coffee-related key items and deliver them to him to obtain the miniature Prima Vista, rewarding a trophy. Now, there's only 3, thankfully, like I said, and they're not that hard to find. The mocha coffee is found at the south gate on the side of a tree branch near the water. The Kerman coffee is found in Medain Suri in Disc 2 on the left side of the kitchen, and the Berman coffee is found in Dali on Disc 3. During the Treno section, you can enter the mayor's room, lift his key from the heater, then open the door to the east side of the windmill. You'll find it in the Chocobo's pen. You'll have to open a treasure chest and obtain the gill inside, and then examine it a second time to get the coffee. Bring all 3 of these back, and you'll get your trophy. Now, I think that covers all the things you should be consistently thinking about as you play the entire game, but we are very far from done. Several other minigames also have trophies associated with them with varying levels of frustration. Winning 10 items at the Treno auction house is actually a really easy one, and these items also help with your treasure hunter rank anyway. Also in Treno is the weapons shop, whose owner keeps monsters in the basement to battle for some reason. On disc 4, the monster is a behemoth, and you get a trophy for defeating it with Garnet. Odin's Zantetsuken is a nice, easy way to deal with this, though it can miss. You may also just get fed up and turn on the infinite HP MP trance cheat. Do whatever you're going to do, but feel free to just turn on whatever you need to win and just kill the behemoth. There are also a couple of trophies you can access in disc 2 when you travel through Fossil Rue. One is to simply free the Moogle from the wall in the mining room, which just requires hitting the spot to the far east a handful of times. The other is to obtain a Medane's Ring through mining on this screen. Medane's Ring is incredibly rare, and there's really no secret to finding it. So just excavate every spot, and if need be, leave the screen and come back to reset everything, and rinse and repeat until you get it. Now we start to get into some of the wonkier trophies. First is the Track Star trophy to become the Athlete Queen. After the events at the Ifa Tree, when you're back in Alexandria as Vivi, go find the Hippo Lady and her son, the latter of whom she wants you to race to improve his athleticism. You just alternate button mashing and try to beat him in every race. Every time you beat him, his level's going to increase. If you beat him by a very wide margin, his level will increase by 5, and if you beat him by just a little, the level will only increase by 1. If you lose, his level will just stay the same. Just beat him over and over again until he hits a high enough level, and you get the Athlete Queen achievement. It's tedious, but not too difficult. However, the next one made me want to toss my controller across the room. Seriously considered anger management after this one. For the Found in the Shuffle trophy, you need to beat the Nero Brothers shuffling game 9 times in a row. Now the game is simple. You pay them a bit of gil and they tell you which brother is a target brother, then jump around and mix themselves up. Each time you win, they give you the option of paying to play again, and they hop more times, speed up more, and it just gets kind of confusing to keep track of them, especially if you're just playing the game naturally. The worst part is if you get it wrong, you got to start all over, so you really don't want to screw this one up. I highly recommend, if you can, recording your gameplay somehow on this one. The PlayStation does have a built-in share button that can record up to 15 minutes, and then you can watch it back by saving the video and checking the capture gallery. Be careful though, because if you have certain settings enabled, you may accidentally close the game, and then that will render the... I was streaming when I did this and tried replaying it on YouTube, but I failed after checking because I'm terrible. So eventually I did it in my own time and locally recorded it with my capture device instead. Take all the time in the world to fact check and double guess and just whatever you got to do to make sure you don't screw this one up. Just get it right. Another really annoying one is a clean bill of health, which asks that you have a single character be affected by every positive and negative status effect in the game. Now, it's not all at the same time, so for the most part, you're just going through a checklist. Most of the time, Garnet and Aiko could just cast any of the abilities on your actual team. There's only a couple that you might need to go out of your way for, like Steiner can freeze an ally by equipping the Ice Brand and using the add status effect and then just attacking the ally of choice, and Basilisks can inflict gradual petrify, so you just have to go find them and get them to target the right person and use the skill. You'll mostly just cast buffs and debuffs on someone until it pops though, so it's just annoying a little bit. And of course, one I've mentioned several times so far is to defeat Ozma in the Chocobo Air Garden. Ozma has a ton of insanely deadly attacks. The most deadly is Meteor, which generally just has a chance to instantly kill your whole team, and there's nothing you can do about it. Other attacks like Doomsday or his status effects can be nullified or absorbed, but if you're resistant to too many of its attacks, it will not use them, making Meteor more likely. Ozma also cheats his ATB gauge, and I don't put that lightly. Ozma's ATB instantly fills whenever it's not performing any action. So if it's not in the middle of a battle animation, bam, he's instantly going to have his ATB back. The only way to avoid massive problems from this is to initiate all of your commands while Ozma is performing an attack. Otherwise, you'll just keep queuing the actions over and over again and you won't be able to do anything. This can make planning ahead for what it could potentially do just not really work super well. So if you're fighting Ozma fairly, I recommend everyone having auto regen equipped as well as some form of dark absorb or nullify. Make sure not everyone has the ability to absorb or he won't even use Doomsday. This attack will actually damage Ozma while healing or doing nothing to your party, giving you a major edge. Now, the main reason that I like to have auto regen equipped is because of Bahamut. By using Bahamut on Garnet, not only will you deal some damage to Ozma, but the summon animation takes so long that your party's able to just regen back up without really needing to stop and actually cast a healing action, which can definitely get you through the fight a lot faster. Then your other party members are kind of up to you. Zidane's Thievery is great for dealing damage. Amarant has Throw and the ability to give auto life to everyone. Freya's Dragon Crest is great for damage, and the jump during her trance will make her immune to all of his abilities. There's plenty of reasons to bring almost any party, but like these are the ones that I like to bring personally. However, if you're like me and you don't want to beat the big ball fairly for however many times in the last 2 decades, then you may be more inclined to cheat. Now, in the original Final Fantasy IX, it was possible with good RNG to have Freya come into the fight almost tranced up, get trance early on from whatever attack Ozma uses, and then jump into the air and actually kill Ozma before ever coming down, which she's invincible to all his attacks while she's jumping during her trance. Now, that doesn't work in the same vein in this version, but we have something better, the infinite trance cheat. By jumping as Freya, with the cheat on, she will never come down from her jump, thus rendering her unkillable and it becoming a waiting game until she outdamages Ozma's healing. Obviously, if the rest of your team can do some damage to Ozma in the process, it makes it a lot better, but it's an easy win as long as you have enough stats. Alright, that actually covers most of the game's achievements. It may seem a little bit tedious, and it may not seem really that bad. You know, you're like, yeah, well, it's just a lot of, like, checklisting and making sure you don't miss anything. A lot of missables, that's really annoying. But, yeah, it doesn't seem that bad. But, yeah, we're not done. Final Fantasy IX is home to a holy trinity of torture when it comes to its last 3 trophies. Some of these trophies are so bad, I made the decision to cheat. So first, the easiest of the unholy trinity. Honestly, it barely even belongs in this category. The Excalibur II. Now, this is the game's strongest weapon for Steiner, but it can only be obtained by reaching a specific screen in the game's final dungeon with under 12 hours of playtime. Under normal circumstances, this requires an incredibly thorough understanding of the game's mechanics and progression, and for decades, a lot of people have taken the Excalibur II speedrun challenge pretty seriously. There are legit 100% Excalibur II runs out there on some of the original versions of the game. Some of them because it didn't work in all of them, depending on what region it released, but that's not really important right now. So that sounds really bad, and a lot of people think the Excalibur II is a major reason why this platinum would be difficult. But we have technology, and the speed up cheat exists in this game. The cheat speeds up the game, but not the 12-hour clock. So you're just at 4 times speed, blasting through the game, and you will very easily in a dedicated run get to the Excalibur II screen before that 12-hour mark. I think I took like 3 hours or something like that. Yeah, just do a separate run. It's annoying to do a whole other run through the game, but you're not like doing a real one, so it should be fine. Like I said, that one doesn't really belong much in this quote holy trinity, but you know, it scares a lot of people when they see it. The next 2, on the other hand, absolutely deserve their status. First up, we have one of the first trophies you can obtain in the entire game. Hail to the King! In Alexandria, Vivi can play jump rope with some of the local kids. As you get further and further through the little minigame, the speed of the jump rope will increase and fluctuate, testing your rhythm and adaptability, as well as knowledge of what the actual cadence will be. Now, for 100 consistent jump ropes, you'll obtain the Skip to My Lou trophy, which honestly isn't that bad. I've done that plenty of times. However, the big struggle is Hail to the King, which requires a whopping 1,000 jump ropes in a row. The timing on this minigame is so fickle that doing it consistently for such a long period of time can be absolute torture. There's a slight cadence difference for every other jump, especially at the higher speeds. Different TVs or monitors can add delays of their own, and any variations in your button press delay will likely doom you. So here is where I show my shame. Actually, no, I'm not shamed. This achievement sucks. I cheated to obtain this trophy, and I put a lot more effort into cheating to do it after 2 decades of never getting even close to getting it done. Simply put, I just didn't have any more patience. So, how did we do this? Well, on the PC version of the game, you can run an auto hotkey script set to the exact cadence of the jump rope and its speed alterations. But then how do you do that on the PlayStation version? It's actually the exact same idea with a few extra hoops to jump through. First, you'll need the script itself, which I will include in the description. Second, you'll need to download Remote Play so you can connect your PC to your PlayStation console. I think you can see where this is going. However, newer versions of Remote Play won't work, as they seem to have protections that stop the script from working. I used version 7.5.8061. I'll try and remember where I found it, because it's been a few months. If I can, I'll put the link in the description, but that's the specific version of Remote Play that you're looking for. Simply put, open Remote Play, run the script, and sit back and watch it all go. I'd encourage you to try it for yourself first. Like, genuinely give it a try. I did, I have, and I couldn't do it. And just only go this route if you failed. And to think that's not even the final trophy that I teed up for you. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? The final trophy is, in my opinion, the stupidest one, and it's Bloodlust. This requires you to defeat 10,000 enemies. 10,000. It's absurd. An average playthrough kills like less than 2,000 enemies, and this trophy has to be done in a single playthrough. You can't just be like, oh, I'll beat the game 5 times and eventually get it. No, it won't work. And doing this manually is likely to just run you dozens and dozens of hours of concentrated effort for no real good reason other than the little digital pixels that come with the trophy. So guess what? I cheated for this one too. While the game does have an auto battle option and the speed up, which you're gonna use both of those, trust me, it still requires button presses to get through that post-battle screen. So same idea, run a script through Remote Play, and all it does is press confirm. Now, if you have a turbo controller and you just want to tape it down, honestly, it achieves the exact same thing. I don't have a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 turbo controller, and I don't have anything that could even remotely pass off as that. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to run the script to press the confirm button. The one I found online had a really slow, like, confirm button cadence for some reason. I adjusted it and made it way, way faster, which is really easy to do. Then when you reach the part in Alexandria with Steiner and Marcus, where they're locked up, you'll get to a screen where Alexandrian soldiers run at you non-stop, infinitely spawning. I set the script, equipped Steiner with the blood sword, auto battle and speed up, and you know the rest. Now, I did actually try a couple of different things here. I did try to just have Marcus do it and maybe turn on the auto HP cheat, which worked really well. You have to remember that Marcus doesn't have a trance mode, so if you kill off Steiner and just leave the auto healing on Marcus, that's another way of doing it, just to turn on that one extra cheat. I think I ended up kind of testing to see what the difference was between the two, if one was safer than the other. I think they were about the same, but I think I actually ended up doing the Marcus strategy instead for the most part. Either way, I just swapped the strategy occasionally just to save myself from boredom. And eventually, I just left my stream and game on overnight, went to sleep, went to a doctor's appointment the next morning, had my blood drawn, and finally, after a 30-plus hour stream, I still didn't have the trophy. I just decided to accept that I was probably pretty close, and I just wanted to continue the game at that point. I progressed to the end of the game and then spent another hour or so deliberately farming mobs until it finally popped. Doing this trophy fairly is doable. It's so mind-numbing, right? Like, you're not going to have fun doing it. Just do whatever method you really want to do, but if you get past the part in Alexandria and then you decide to do it, you're pretty much going to be locking in that you're doing it manually. Now, that wasn't my platinum trophy, even though it's the last trophy that I actually mentioned in this video. My final trophy did end up being the Excalibur II. I did every other trophy in a separate save file, and then started a new game and ran through for the Excalibur II to get the platinum. It's just that these trophies that I left for the end in the video, they are just the worst ones, so I left it out. But yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy IX, listen, I actually got it done in a pretty short period of time. It only took me about 44 hours for the more recent playthrough. I do have to consider that I have played the game before. Some of the trophies I already had, but it was all the really, really easy ones. So let's say 46, 47 hours in reality, something in that vein. But yeah, it's a grind. Final Fantasy IX's like, yeah, you can get through them, but if you don't cheat for those few that I mentioned, and it's just really tedious. It's one of those ones that tests your patience and tests your willpower and just tests your tolerance for this non-stop missables and really annoying mini games that have all these sorts of tricks that you really would. Yeah, I don't think I need to repeat it. Just about 45 to 50 hours consistently. And if you're really good at the jump rope and don't use the cheat, great, but whatever. But it takes like 3 minutes with it. But Final Fantasy IX Platinum video is done. I told you it needed its own video because I'm over here just sweating even thinking about playing Final Fantasy IX again after this. So probably leave this one for a while. Please don't remake it, Square. I really don't want to see that jump rope minigame ever again. And I'm going to end the video. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap for my third video on platinuming every Final Fantasy game. Next up is Final Fantasy X, which is probably the single longest platinum that I had in the entire franchise up to this point. And I'm currently working on 13-2, and that'll be my last mainline one, so I think that says a lot. You'll understand why when we talk about it in the next video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know how your platinums are going in the comment section of the video below, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.